Hello, everyone. Welcome to this sort of impromptu recording. I'm literally 13 hours away from catching my flight over the Nationals, and I wanted to record this video to sort of give my national prediction. We're sort of, like I said, nearing this corner. This video come out as you're seeing it 4 p.m. I mean, not 4 p.m., 5 p.m. Friday Eastern time. I'm recording this Thursday night. So, like I said, you guys will be seeing a little bit of a different window than myself, than others. But yeah, so sort of what I'm predicting going into nationals. We had Yeti Online Regionals last week. We had Erupting win. We had Erupting win at Southern Ontario. Obviously, the boogeyman, not even of the format, is probably going to be Erupting Merlin. Shout out to Matt. He made a really good list, a really consistent list. Um, there's going to be probably a few tweaks in there. Crystal Empowerment Band that we didn't get to see in Yeti Online Regional, but there's already a tech that's going to go into it. Nope, spoiler, people who want to watch, not really. The harp, I can't think of the name of the Discordia's harp, I want to say is the name of it. It is a card that, what's the name? Harp Grand Archive. We're going to Google it live. We're going to Google it while I'm recording this. Yeah, Discordia, Harp of Malice. I'm probably not going to put the cards up on the screen for this video. Like I said, it's impromptu. I'm leaving in 10 hours. I don't have time to update videos. So Discordia, Harp of Malice. This is whenever you activate a Harmony or Melody card, put a music counter on Discordia, and then tap rest. Target champ gets minus X level, and your champion gets plus X level to end the turn. Where X is the amount of music counters on the card. And at the beginning of the next end phase, banish. So it pretty much replaces Crystal of Empowerment. You're casting these cards. You're getting the +2 levels off the harp, and that's pretty much what's going to be going into the material decks for most of these decks going forward. I think Erupting's in a really good spot right now. You're probably going to see the Fire Protective Trinket come in, a couple of Scavenging Raccoons come back, some ways to hate the graveyard. And that's probably what's going to be adjusted for Erupting going into Nats. It's probably going to be in the top 8. I'm not sure how big of a conversion rate because I don't know how many people are actually going to Nationals, so it's a little hard to judge. But my next list that's probably going to be up there, as well as a big top 8 representation, is Water Allies. There's a Water Ally list: Water Tony, Water Diana, Water Xander that we saw in Ontario. Um, Allies is in a really good position right now. It's been pretty good. It keeps up its tempo. It has Song of Frost, Frostbind, Fracturize. Has a lot of different components to keep up its pace on the board, and that's sort of the upside as a whole. The deck keeps its tempo pretty well, spamming out allies, ways to protect them, and just keeps on pressuring your opponent to either respond or board wipe or do something entirely to get rid of the ally pressure that they're putting onto you and the damage that it's pushing pretty much at a consistent basis. So preventing that damage as a whole is a little bit harder to do. I think Water Allies, like I said, is in a pretty good list. And probably third in this list now, going to deck number 3, is going to be Fire Merlin. Fire Merlin started a little bit of a soft nerf with Crystal Empowerment Band. Not really much going on. Didn't really need it too much. Might have rounded out some turns earlier, but Fire Merlin's still in a good position. I don't know if it's going to be as represented, only because of how many people are going to be used to the deck. And Erupting's doing good, and Ally lists are doing good. There's a whole bunch of lists that's doing well. Merlin's going to have a representation, but I don't think it's going to be the polarizing 50% of the meta, 30% of the meta that we've been seeing for the past few tournaments as a whole. So definitely keep an eye on that with Fire Merlin coming around the corner. It has okay matchups into the ally lists. It sort of, if he ends Erupting, it really depends on how the draws are going for both the opponents. Fire Merlin really levels up to 28 to try and get as high life as possible, so Erupting has a little bit harder time dealing that amount of damage. But overall, I think Merlin's in a good spot. It's going to deal with mostly the ally list as a whole, between Focus Flames, Resolute Stands, and if you're doing the hybrid Merlin list, you have Flame Sweeps. Going into my fourth and fifth is sort of fluctuating between both Xander lists. You have Fiza, which is the fast, in-your-face fire Xander list, and then you have Luxem Xander. Going into Fire Xander, the regular Fiza, that list is quick. If it does what it wants to do, it's going to kill you by turn 2, turn 3. The list is a little bit of a high roll, but it does what it wants to do. It comes in, it knows what you want to do, and your match is over in like 15 minutes, 30 minutes tops. You're not really worrying too much about going the time of this deck. It's pretty much a coin flip into Erupting. Alice is also a coin flip depending on what they're doing. You can sometimes kill them quick enough. You can clear their ally list with a little bit of the pressure you're swarming on board, as well as their Arthurs. You have Poison Dagger, Planted Explosives, a lot of different cards that will come into sort of dealing with the board state as a whole, as well as pushing enough damage onto your opponent that will, sort of put the clock on, so to say, a little bit quicker. Luxem Xander, on the other hand, Luxem Xander is the control list right now of Grand Archive. The list is really good at stabilizing at a certain point with healing itself with Luxem sites, using Light Weaver's Assault to deal 2 damage on the Xander level 3 flip reveal. Poke, 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 poke. All of a sudden, there comes a turn where they're Light Weaver's Assault in response, Light Weaver's Assault on the stack, 8 cards in memory, flipping them over and just dealing 16 damage to the face. It's really good at pushing in pressure. It really wants to control the board state as much as possible, and then pretty much just stabilize from there. I think, like I said, these are a coin flip. It really depends on the matchup table it's going to see. Luxem Xander has issues going into the ally list. It just sort of gets sort of blown out the water if it's allowed to just allies are stabilized and they just keep on swinging enough damage. But at the same time, it's favored as well because the fact that if the allies aren't getting the nut hand, you're just healing all the damage that ally lists are doing. You're not too worried about their board state and what they're doing to you consistently, and they're able to sort of answer and respond as you need to. But if you're facing something like Erupting just sort of burns you quick. Erupting doesn't let you get the Luxem Site heals. Even if you have them, it doesn't matter because they're trying to OTK or one turn kill you. So they're not really looking for that big chip damage, a little bit that Luxem Site has the advantage of going into that. And if you're facing Fire Merlin, Luxem Xander is pretty good in the Fire Merlin. Again, you just gotta watch out for the big fireball turns. But as a whole, I think Luxem Xander is in a pretty good spot. And some dark horses, I don't really consider this dark horse. I think it's good into the Fire Merlin. I'm not sold on this, and the other list is Fire Diana. Fire Diana is a list that's been coming up lately. It levels up the Turbo 3 Diana. It's getting Shadow's Twin. It's putting double Creeping Torment. If your opponent's not leveled yet, you get Taser Shot, apply double Taser Shot triggers onto your opponent, and make him take 8 damage if they decide to level up. The list goes quick. It's really into a one-trick wheelhouse right now, and I don't think it's doing well too much in anything else outside of Fire Merlin. I'm not sold on this list doing anything special. I'm not sold on it doing pretty much. It might make some good splashes or showings, but I won't be surprised if you don't see any going into day 2. It's one of those things that's really rough in its placement. And another dark horse is Wind Allies. Wind decks have been on the rise, on the fall, on the rise, on the fall, every single tournament. Last year at the Online Regional, we had Pickle showing up with Wind Rye, showing how dominant Wind Rye could be, going, I think, undefeated and double drawing to top 16. It has some showings. Winless also as a whole, Wind Allies can do a lot of different things into Water Allies. It has Zephyrs, has the bounces, has some favorable winds. There's a lot of different mechanics that Wind Allies can bring into their matchups that make them favorable depending on what you're playing. It's really just a meta call. And I think Wind Allies is going to have a decent showing. I'm going to put it into my Dark Horse category as a whole, as well as Fire Eye. Fire Eye, sometimes if it can do what it wants to do, it just goes off. If you're not worried about getting overpressured too much and you have enough time to set up, you have enough time to level, enough arcane cards in your banish zone, and you're just going to go off in 2 extra turns after that. There's a lot that Fire Eye can do, and I think Fire Eye is going to be a dark horse. There's going to be some bad games, but if Rye's hitting, it's Vanish in the Sights, hitting his Resolute Stance, Piece of Reunions, it's just stalling, and all of a sudden, Rise turn 5, turn 6, boom. It's just going to blow your opponent out the water. Arcane Blast, Firebolts, Advent of Stormcaller, just pretty much spew out your hand and just victory at this point. But like I said, this was sort of a quick video. Again, breakdown is I think Erupting's going to be your number 1 deck, Water Allies, and Fire Merlin. And then you go into 4th or 5th by top deck is going to be between Fiza and Luxem Control with Xander. And then from there you have the Fire Diana, which is on the list, but I'm not sold on it. And the dark horses being Wind Allies and Fire Rye. You could sort of throw Wind Rye in there. I've been told it's a hard deck to pilot. I'm going to try and get a deck type going on that at some point. But yeah, that's sort of my impromptu Nats video. Like I said, thank you guys for tuning in. I will hopefully see whoever's watching this at Nationals on Saturday. Hope to meet you there. I'm casting Nationals. So like I said, I hope to see everyone there. I hope everyone has a good time. And I'll see you all there and have a good one.